Hey guys, welcome to Z's Bees. Today we're going to get into this hive. We just installed this hive a week ago and we're going to see what we have. My goal here is to see that we have a laying queen. We're going to check the food and we're going to do all the stuff that you do when you've just installed a nuke. Thanks for watching. Check out the channel. All right guys, I really wanted to show what it's like for starting a colony out, whether it's your first year, second year, you haven't done it in a while. I just want to go over things. So I have pine needles in the smoker. I started it now and I'll just keep kind of puffing away. You want to make sure that it's lit. The worst thing you can do is get into a hive and all of a sudden you realize that your smoker went out. So the way that we have it here, I'm going to set my smoker over here. This is a top cover. I'll lift the top cover off. I like to flip it over because a lot of times I'll set stuff on there. Now this right here, it looks like I have two deeps, but really it's just a protection for my feeder board. So now what I want to do to see if they glued it down is I want to just pop this cover open, get it loose. I'm just going to smoke underneath here. And you can see here quite a bit, and you can feel that's almost empty. So this is 1 week after we installed the hive. So I've introduced a little bit of smoke. Make sure that the queen's not up there. Now you might see some of these guys up here and get confused that they might be a queen. So Don, if you want to kind of zoom in, if you look at their eyes, this is a drone. So the drones don't have stingers. You don't have to be afraid of those at all, or you really don't have to be afraid of any of the bees. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hive tool, put it underneath the top cover. I just loosened it up, again, they'll glue it down with propolis or wax, and I'm just going to smoke underneath the hive. So now I want to see, and I'll just check the top cover. This was a brand new top cover, so you can see the comb that they've already built. I don't see the queen up there at all. I can already see the temperament of the bees are good. However, it's a little bit rainy out again. And now I'm going to check this out. Here's my pollen patty. I want to see that they chewed through. And that's perfect. They're chewing through the wax paper and they're taking that down. So I'm going to set this aside. You can see their temperament's really good. So I'm just going to smoke them. And then when you start to work the hive, I like to start from the outside because there's probably the least amount of bees. I don't expect to see anything out here. So there's a few bees over there. But now what I can do is I can move these over. I can give myself some, this is really good, some room to work. Now this was a brand new frame. And look and see what they've done in 1 week. So we see that they're here. And now look at this. Now what I want to do is I want to see if the queen is in there. And I'm looking for a bee that, think of it as like a semi amongst other vehicles. Really long. And you got to make sure that you don't get confused with a drone. So now I have that and I want to make sure I maintain this order. So I'm only going to take one out right now. Keep them nice and calm. So now I see that the hive is healthy. They're drawing comb. Now I want to see example or remnants that the queen is alive. So this, if you get real close, you see all that shininess in there? That's either nectar or most likely the sugar water that we're feeding. So they're storing that on the outside. Now I want to start to see brood. I see a little bit of pollen on this side. And now because it's most pollen and nectar, I don't expect to see the queen over there. They're using that to store their food. Here's where I really want to start to see some brood or eggs. Okay, so right up here, you see this nice pattern. You have nectar. Then you see these colors. Zoom real in on that, Don, if you can. All the different colors of pollen. And in the inside, I don't recommend doing this a lot, but if you blow in here, you can see some capped over, and then you can see some larvae in there. So let's take a good look for the queen. I don't see her on there. Let's look at this side. A lot of good capped over brood. I see larvae right here. I think we can get a close-up right here, Don. Let me flip it up a little bit. You see, those are larvae. So now that I see that, I want to see eggs. I just want to make sure that the queen is in here. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see her on this side, because it looks like this side hatched out. And where bees hatch out, a lot of times you'll see the queen back laying. All right, so far we've seen food stores, we've seen capped over brood, we've seen larvae. Let's see if we can't see some eggs. Now I want to remember, they're not aggressive, but I'll just give a little bit of smoke. So again, more capped over brood. More capped over brood. Not seeing the queen yet. You hear that loud tank? That's a drone flying. I always say the loud tank because it'll sound really loud. So this is all, and I see some more larvae in there. I see more larvae over here. That's likely laid within the last week. So I'm going to put this one back in. I like to loosen it up, use the J-hook part of the hive tool, and then I like to lift straight up. So I'm looking on the bottom. I don't see any swarm cells started. Don't see the queen there, but most of this is capped over brood. I see more larvae. And a lot of it too is I don't have a ton of access to move the bees. And I'm doing that on purpose because I don't want to remove a lot of these nurse bees from the brood because they're keeping it warm. Okay, so that's the fourth frame in. We'll give them a little more smoke. One of the other indicators that isn't necessarily certain, but is I can hear the temperament of the bees. I don't hear a roar of buzzing. It's more of just kind of the light hum, which is indicative that there's a queen.
Is this it right here?
Nope, that's a big old fat drone. So the drones are really fat and they have really round eyes. With a queen, and I bet you we find her on this side because this is all open. Wouldn't be surprised. I think I'm kind of blocking you, Don. Nope, again, that's a drone. So if you look at his eyes, they're big and round. You'll know when you see her, her abdomen, her hind end, is really long. The length of her hind end is about the length of a worker, of a female bee. Oh, I see her. All right, Don, zoom in on this frame and see if you guys can find her.
Right here.
Yep, there she is.
Yep.
See how big and long she is? Look at how beautiful. Let's see if we can't capture her laying an egg. So she's checking them. You see the other bees around her, their faces are by her. They're really just watching her. Let's see if she lays an egg. So she's going around, checking cells. We'll let her be for now. Okay, so now I want to be really careful. I know she's on that side. Okay, so now when I draw these tight, I want to real slowly bring this one tight. Because she was on that side, I'm much more comfortable bringing these ones over. And so I want to bring them nice and tight over. You want to make sure that there's not too much space. Otherwise they'll do the burr comb. Okay, so I'll pull this one over. Put this back in. And just as a little trick, when you're done, take your hive tool, push in that way, push in this way. Same thing on the other side. Draw everything nice and tight. So then we're going to take the pollen patty, put that back on. Just so they don't get caught in our top cover. Yeah, that's on the bottom though. That one's dead. So now I have a new feed. We'll take our feed, let a little bit drain out, create that suction. They took down, I would say, over 3/4 of that one. This is a 1 gallon feeder bucket. We'll take our box, put this back on. Take our top cover, put this on, and then for wind and storm protection, we'll put a rock on it. Now, one of the things I will do with this stand is I'll put some eyelets in there, and I'll end up putting a strap over the top. When you get real big storms, I still would kind of worry about that blowing over, but for the most part, 99% of the time, a little bit of weight on top is going to keep any sort of pests out. It wouldn't stop a bear, obviously, but in this area of Wisconsin, we don't have a whole lot. So what we saw, we came in to look for, so we installed this 1 week ago. We had 5 frames of a nuke, and we had brand new frames inside all there. They're drawing out the most recent ones to the point where they're already storing in there a little bit. They're eating the pollen patty. They had beautiful rings of, they had brood, they had pollen, and then they have honey around the outside. That's the pattern that you want to see. We still have some time before we add a second box onto this, but in the next week, we're gonna have some nice weather. They're gonna explode pretty quick.